Could you give
I
them a
do.
quick brief on each image, just really quickly? So I'll start with the first one.
Okay. Hi, Kelvin's followers. Um, this image you want me to describe?
Yeah, just quickly each one, I guess, or just
Yeah,
so they
whatever.
understand.
Just like I'm asking for some comments on these three projects. The first one is a house that was we were given like for all of these projects very specific parameters, and like for all three of them we were given the area we were going to build it on. So there's not much freedom left to us as students in that regards. This first project is a house, which was meant to be an exploration of volume and light, and we were given the brief that we had to fit a kind of a house in an 8 meter by 8 meter by 8 meter concrete cube that's suspended 3 meters from the ground level. So this view here is the kind of ground level area, which is a space that students can actually access because this house is close to the university, or like it's part of the campus. And then the view after this one is just the room of this house, which is this kind of ledge that you see above the person sitting. That's the volume within which the room is. So everything kind of builds around this light well that traverses the house. And then the second project was meant to be a community center, which is supposed to be kind of integrated into this garden. And we thought of using the garden as kind of an instrument to tie the whole project together. So it's half an architecture project and half a landscape architecture project. And the building is supposed to be like this kind of continuous covering, or this roof, which holds together all of the different functions that a community center needs to hold. So there's a bar, there's spaces for learning, there is spaces for exposition and display, and so on and so forth. And then the last project is a theater in Hamburg, which we were told to design again. We didn't choose the lot or the thematic or anything of the sort. We were just kind of told to do that. And those are four kind of vistas, or four little vignettes of the project, which kind of holds together different functions, and um, like there is spaces, there's a dance school integrated in the theater, and how the building works. At this point I wish I had put a plan in here, even if it's ugly, just to kind of show it, but it's okay. Like the idea is that there is a concrete structure, a grid, which is these pillars, which are 4 meters high, and they span a length of 4 meters, and they surround this kind of central brick core, which is the place where the hall actually is. And the last view is, yeah, the dance school at the lower level, above which there is a piazza, but I can't really see that just from the images. Just so my bad about that. But yeah,
Noise.
that's my briefest briefest possible explanation of what people might be seeing here.
Cool stuff, I would say. Very logical. Like you seem very like meticulous, like very organized as like a thinker. I don't know, would you Yeah. You know what I think?
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. That's a that's a really nice compliment. I don't think anybody has ever told me that before.
Like yeah, visually super clean and like thoughtful. Um, I guess And even within the design as well, as everything's like measured, it's like okay, you have these like very. I mean, I guess some of it came through the brief from the first Yeah. project, but like even in this one with like the concrete like grid structure, it's like seems very like yeah, it's cool. It's like an interesting like approach, I think. Um, yeah.
The concrete structure, thankfully, like that's something we came up with, and like
Hmm.
thankfully we don't really take too much bother with environmental considerations, because this wouldn't have been quite I
Okay.
mean, if my professor had been more interested in that kind of stuff, definitely this wouldn't have gone as well as it did, but it's okay. Like generally the design, like the content of the various images is like our work in sense of what we design. Like we were given the lot and the kind of brief, so like the spaces we had to account for, and everything else we kind of figured out. So like again, These are the result of more, I guess, theoretical consideration, like the superimposition of a grid over a more archaic form, like the one of a hall. But I feel like I'm already getting into the nitty gritty here of like the kind of research that we did, which
I
was
think
very
that's what
conceptual. Like,
I find that interesting. Like, I guess like because these are they feel quite conceptual. Like these images feel more kind of surreal. Like I guess that could be the wall, or that could just be infinitely extending grid. But I guess I'm really interested in like you probably do have to justify material choices and stuff, right? Like that, right? So what kind of makes you kind of choose the materials that you choose?
I mean, I actually kind of have the answer for that. Hamburg, like it all started kind of from this a study of the city of Hamburg. I don't know if you've ever been or you're aware what it is, but it was a city which was, I mean, northern Germany, super important port city, and completely war torn after World War II. So
Mm.
there was a large kind of effort of reconstruction that kind of wiped out most of the city's more historic architecture. And what came was kind of this, I guess, more modernist approach to urbanism and architecture. So, if you can imagine the building just as I described it to you, it would be simply like imagine the plan of a church, right? A super simple church with a single nave, right? And that plan be surrounded by a concrete grid. So the building kind of acts as a metaphor for the reality of architecture within the city of Hamburg, right? Where the most
Oh.
iconic, most important, culturally important landmarks are maintained or rebuilt, and the rest kind of like develops with this orthogonal, um, like modernist grid or modernist way of doing with glass and concrete, and especially efficiency and speed, right? So that was the idea.
Ah. That makes so much sense. Yeah, I got you. I see. I see. Yep. Yep. I see. So it's a kind of like a critique as well on how they are rebuilding after war.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have read Aldo Rossi's Architecture of the City, but it's very much based off of that, the idea of an analogous building, of a building that can kind of tell a story about the city as a whole and vice versa.
Oh.
Yeah, it's an interesting like the kind of symbolic or allegorical building. I don't know. I think this year we've kind of moved away from that just with
Yeah,
like our studio's like approach is slightly different. But like I think it's quite a cool I mean I think
That's
it's quite
very cool.
successful. I mean there's room for both. That's the thing. It's like there's so many different approaches. Um I think they're all pretty valid, most of them anyway.
Very
Um
cool.
yeah, no,
Because you couldn't tell the concept from the image, like just because I know you have other images, but like like it's so cool to hear you actually explain the concepts behind them. Um, yeah, but I guess that's not what you're here for today. That's why you didn't include the other ones. But it's just nice to know because these look quite surreal and conceptual, but then when you talk about the reason you're doing it, it makes complete sense. So then if someone was to judge by just one image, they'd be like, "What is this? Just a collage to show off a
it's a
grid
parking
design?"
lot,
You know.
basically.
But see now that
Yeah.
like, you explain it, that's very actually very poetic and like based in history and also a critique of certain building methods. Um, yeah, that's great.
I see Xander ask in the chat, what year am I? I'm third year, Xander. I'm just finishing up my
Can
third
we get a
year.
W, Giorgio?
Sorry.
Uh,
That's not necessary.
Necessary, completely necessary. Okay. Well, so you mainly want to get like technical feedback, right? Like visual, technical,
Yeah,
like.
like if like I feel like you're now like you now have a general idea of what like my kind of my approach is, like maybe a little more poetic, more theoretical or something. But like when you see these images, like I'm just curious to know what you would do with them, like considering
Mm,
generally the style or the kind
yeah.
of intent.
The interesting thing is I wouldn't have been able to give you the advice that I might be able to give you now because now I've just learned about the like more about the purpose of the building. So I guess that is like quite a important thing to know, or at least it feels like now
yeah, I mean,
to,
it would
to
be
understand.
like if it was presented even alongside like a plan or something. Like
Mm,
obviously this is just images to us, but
yeah.
like obviously within a portfolio it would be contextualized with a plan and like some text and stuff.
I guess you said the inside is a church or something,
Yeah.
right? So what if you can show a little, just a hint of a church? It doesn't have to be an obvious thing, or whatever it. I guess whatever it is. Um,
Um, it looks like if I can I send images in chat on Discord?
no, you can
Yeah,
put
you
in
can send on
search.
Discord.
Oh yeah, in Discord you can. Yeah, yeah.
Let me see. Because if I can, I'll just send you a quick JPEG of the plan, just so you get an idea of, of what I'm talking about
Sure.
in general. Here.
Man, I'm getting no work done today.
Wait. Got this. So you get an idea of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I just sent it in chat. It should load because it's not that heavy of a file.
Which chat did you send it in?
It's
Do you remember?
processing, so. General, I think.
General. Okay, cool. Got it.
Says it's processing right now, but should do it. Though. Okay, I'll let you know when I see it's fully uploaded. But yeah, like you can tell from the plan what the reference is because it has like this long rectangle and then at the end is just a semicircle, so it just looks like a really old Romantic church, which we were basing off of the first kind of churches from the 1200s that were built in the periphery of Hamburg, and then
Yeah.
yeah, did it send? Oh, it's sending.
I guess my point is kind of like in every image you want to, because to me this shows that there is something here. There is a very abstract kind of structure around something, and there might be something else on the outside of it. It seems like what's on the inside is the same as what's on the outside, and both of those things I'm not sure what it is. And there's some emphasis on the stairs, and the fact that someone is cleaning this in the medieval clothing. That's what I will get directly from this image without any context.
I mean,
Um,
the medieval clothing is kind of I'm not gonna lie, it's just what I found.
yeah,
I kind of wish I had found a better figure for this. I was like, it's just,
yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, I
But
guess what. Oh, I see the
it,
plan. But I guess what I would imagine to be more telling of your entire project. I guess that's what you're trying to get, right? That I think the visual should speak for kind of parts of the project. Um, so I guess what I would say is, how could you tell more about what you just explained to us of the inside that this structure surrounds, and what's on the outside, which is the actual city, I guess, in that sense. Does that make sense? Wait, hello. Oh, you're muted, Giorgio, I think. Oh, I think he's Giorgio, you're muted. But I think you know this. My man's getting bombarded. What would you say?
About the general, I mean, it's hard. It's hard because it's like the style is like is this kind of minimal poetic thing, so it's kind of hard to then say, well, add all this detail. 'Cause
Yeah,
then it
I think
kind
we
of
just hint like a curved window or something like a
yeah
some
yeah
like
maybe
old
yeah
building
sure
type hint.
Yeah, I think that contrast that you're talking about should probably come through a little bit more.
Yeah, because this doesn't really say what he explained about the building, which is this really cool concept. Like it's like very little hint. It's like a moment type thing that you would just notice very subtly in the back. Are you okay, Giorgio? You're not muted anymore, but I also can't hear you. Is it my problem? His mic stopped working.
The CIA got it.
How does that even happen? That's crazy. That's cool, man. Well, I guess you're gonna have to just type. But that's fine. I mean, you don't want me spitting my truth. Yeah. How did the mic stop working? Oh man. Yeah. How do you want to do this? We can just give you a bit of our thoughts, but that's mainly my thought. To be honest, that's pretty much all I think is necessary. Is just more of a hint of the story and what your goal is, or what your entire project is, more condensed into just very subtle little hints of your images. Like maybe that is like a little curve that's specific to churches in the back, so it doesn't look like a straight up block. Which I guess it's this thing, right? And I guess you do have smooth things, but just think about how you could say that it's a church. It doesn't matter how you say it, it could be a very modern church, but then how could you possibly say that it's a church that you're covering? Maybe it's a priest walking out of it. Maybe it's some sort of incense coming out of it. Maybe there's some sort of offering, some outside someone. What are the things? I'm not an expert on churches, but just kind of how could you show that it's a church inside and it's a city outside? Yeah. FBI shut the mic. Yeah, and I'll go. Spend any thoughts on this one?
I agree with Kelvin, wholeheartedly.
All right.
Yeah, I think just like showing what you're talking about and making sure that every render kind of not everyone, but
I think similar to the
because like this one's really good at showing like that kind of contrast.
Maybe that's a priest, maybe that's a priest. Maybe that's our, what do you call priest?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
So I guess let's talk about the library one. I guess we don't even know the context for this one, as in like how come it's a curved roof? How come it's one singular? You said it's one singular kind of roof. Kind of how come it's a why is that the design choice you went with? I guess.